The market was closing. Heavy metal doors slammed shut as the last buyers walked away, their boots crunching over the frozen ground. Snow had already started falling, soft and quiet, but deadly cold. A small alien girl sat curled in a metal cage, her bare feet tucked under her shaking body. She was the only one left. Her skin was pale blue, thin, and almost glowing in the cold light. She had no name tag, no price card. Just a red mark across her chest and sold. The traders didn't bother looking back at her. She was too small, too weak, and didn't speak a word. No one wanted a slave who couldn't talk, work, or even stand properly. 2 guards unlocked her cage and dragged her out by the arm. She didn't resist, didn't cry, just looked up at them with hollow eyes. "She's not worth the food," one of them said. "She'd die by morning anyway," the other replied. They tossed her outside the market gate and shut it behind her. The snowstorm had grown stronger, and the wind howled like an angry beast. The girl lay there, her tiny hands curled against her chest. She looked at the closed gate once, then at the endless white around her. No shelter, no fire, no help. She didn't even cry. She had learned long ago that no one came when she cried. A few hundred meters away, in a quiet wooden cabin at the edge of the frozen woods, a human man sat by a crackling fire, sipping a cup of hot tea. His name was Alex. He lived alone, far from the noise of the cities and the madness of the markets. He liked silence, the sound of trees, and the warmth of his simple life. But that night, something disturbed the silence, a sound faint, like scratching, or maybe whimpering. He set down his cup and walked to the door. For a moment, he paused, unsure. The wind was loud, and he thought maybe it was just the trees. But then he heard it again, scratching, soft and weak. He slowly unbolted the door and opened it. There, she was lying just outside the doorway, covered in snow, her skin nearly the same color as the ice. She looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came out, and then she collapsed. Alex didn't move right. Away, he had seen alien slaves before, bought, sold, discarded like garbage. He knew what she was. He also knew the law. Helping an unsold slave could bring trouble, fines, even prison. But still, he stepped out and picked her up. She was light as a bundle of cloth, her body cold like metal. He brought her inside and laid her gently near the fire. She didn't open her eyes. He wrapped her in blankets, placed a warm bottle near her chest, and stirred the coals to bring the fire higher. He whispered, "You're safe now, though." He didn't know if she could understand. Hours passed. The snowstorm grew worse. Alex sat near her, watching her breathe, shallow and slow. He fed her warm broth with a spoon. Drop by drop, she coughed, but she swallowed. That was enough. By morning, her eyes opened again. Just a little. She didn't speak, but her hand reached out and grabbed the edge of the blanket, held on, didn't let go. Alex didn't ask questions. He just said, "You'll stay here for now," and gave her a name, Starling, because she reminded him of a bird fallen from the sky, small and fragile, but not yet dead. He didn't know why he helped her. Maybe because no one else did. Maybe because the world had become too cruel, and someone had to do the kind thing, even if it made no sense. That night, as the storm roared outside, the little alien girl lay by the fire, wrapped in warmth, breathing gently. She had been left to die, but she was not dead, and somewhere deep inside her, something lit up again, a spark, a hope, a reason to live. And Alex, sitting silently beside her, felt something too, a strange feeling he had long forgotten. Not just warmth from the fire, but warmth in the heart. The story had just begun, and neither of them knew what it would become. But the girl no one wanted had found a door that opened, and a human who didn't turn away. Not this time. The fire burned low, the logs cracked quietly, filling the small wooden cabin with warmth. Outside, the snowstorm still raged, but inside it was calm, peaceful. The alien girl, now wrapped in blankets, rested near the fire, her chest slowly rising and falling. She had survived the night. Alex sat in his chair beside her, watching her sleep. She hadn't said a word since he brought her in. She hadn't even made a sound except for a small cough. But she was breathing, and that was enough for now. He stood up, stretched, and walked into the kitchen. It was early morning, but the sky was still gray and heavy with clouds. He poured some water into a pot and put it on the stove to boil. Then, he checked the old scanner by the window. No signals, no patrols nearby. Good. He returned to the girl and knelt beside her. Her eyes were open now, just a little. She didn't look at him, only stared into the fire, silent and still. Alex held up a cup of warm water. "Drink this," he said gently. She didn't move, so he brought the cup to her lips. Slowly, carefully, she sipped it, one tiny drop at a time, and swallowed. She was trying. "You're safe," Alex said again, even though he wasn't sure if she understood. "I won't hurt you." Still, she said nothing, but she didn't flinch this time. He sat beside her and waited. Let her take her time. After a while, he got up and brought her some soft bread and warm soup. He placed the food near her, but she didn't touch it. Her eyes kept watching the fire, as if waiting for it to go out. Hours passed. Alex cleaned the cabin, chopped some more firewood, and made repairs to the roof. The storm had knocked off a few shingles, but even while working, he kept looking back at her. She hadn't moved much. At noon, she finally reached out, grabbed the bread with weak fingers, and took a bite. A small one, then another. She finished the bread slowly, like someone who didn't trust the food to stay, like someone who had been punished for eating before. That night, Alex sat across from her, sipping his tea. She was still awake, still staring. He decided to talk. "My name is Alex," he said. "I live alone here." She blinked, but didn't speak. "You don't have to talk if you're not ready," he added, "but you're safe here." Suddenly, she moved. Her hand reached toward his coat, just the edge, and held it. Lightly, her small fingers gripped the cloth and stayed there. Alex didn't move, didn't speak. He just let her hold on. Later that night, she began to shake in her sleep. Her body twisted. Her breath came fast, and a small sound escaped her. Lips fear. She was having a nightmare. Alex knelt beside her and touched her shoulder gently. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." She woke up gasping and looked at him, eyes wide with terror. He didn't back away. He waited. Still and calm. Slowly, her panic faded. She lay back down, watching him with those glowing eyes, and for the first time, they weren't empty. They held a little light. The next morning, she was still awake. Alex made more food and placed it beside her. This time, she ate without waiting. She was hungry. While she ate, Alex sat by the window and cleaned a small wooden carving knife. It had belonged to his father. He used it sometimes to carve animals or little toys. He noticed her eyes watching the knife. "Do you like this?" he asked, showing her a wooden bird he had made. She stared at it with quiet curiosity. He offered it to her. She didn't take it right away, but after a few minutes, she reached out and held the bird in her hands, gently, like it was alive. She kept it close, tucked near her chest. Alex smiled softly. That day, she followed him outside for the first time, only for a minute, but she stepped out into the snow. She squinted at the sky and held her arms close to her body. Alex handed her a thick coat, his smallest one, but still too big for her. She looked up at him, then slowly slipped her arms into it. She didn't speak, but her eyes said thank you. Back inside, she sat near the fire and watched Alex work. He built a small box for storing wood and fixed a broken chair leg. She moved closer, sat beside him, and placed the wooden bird on the table. Then, very quietly, she spoke for the first time. "Nara." Alex looked at her, surprised. "Your name?" She nodded slowly. Nara. Now she had a name and a place that didn't push her away. She still didn't smile, but she was no longer a ghost in the snow. She had taken the first step back into life, and Alex knew he would protect her, no matter what came next. The door that once opened for her would never close again. Let me know if you're ready for part 3. and I'll write it next in the same style and tone for your HFY story. Ready to continue? Here is part 3 of your HFY sci-fi story. No one bought her, so they left the alien girl to die in the cold until a human opened his door. Emotional HFY, written in third person, using simple and basic English, around 900 words with emotion. And progress. Days passed slowly but gently. The storm outside had ended, but the snow still covered the ground like a white ocean. Inside the cabin, it was warm, quiet, and safe. Nara began to move more. She now sat beside the fire without trembling. She didn't speak often, but she listened, and her eyes followed everything Alex did. She had started eating without being told, drinking water when thirsty, and even folding her blanket each morning. She was learning. One afternoon, Alex brought her a book. It was old and full of pictures, animals, stars, trees, simple things. He opened it and pointed. "This is a bird," he said, showing a colorful drawing. Nara looked at it and nodded, then pointed at the wooden bird she still kept beside her. "Same," she whispered. Alex smiled. "Yes, same." She watched the pictures with quiet interest, though she didn't read the words. She stared at the pages for hours. She was curious. Curiosity meant healing. That evening, Alex sat at the table, repairing a small radio. He had taken it apart months ago, but never got around to fixing it. Now with Nara in the cabin, silence felt different. Not empty, but not complete either. Nara came closer and watched him. She tilted her head, then pointed at a small copper wire. Alex looked at her, surprised. "You know what this is?" he asked. She nodded, then hesitated. "Tie." "Here," she said slowly, pointing where the wire should go. Alex blinked, then checked the spot. She was right. He smiled. "You've done this before?" Nara didn't answer. She just quietly took another piece and helped him. Together, they fixed the radio. It was the first thing they built together. Later that night, Alex sat by the fire thinking, who was she before the cage, before the snow? She clearly knew things, tools, wires, pictures. She wasn't just a slave. She had been something else, someone. The next morning, Alex opened an old metal box he hadn't touched in years. Inside were his spare tools, maps, and a scanner device. He handed the scanner to Nara and said, "Let's find out more." He gently scanned her arm. A faint mark glowed under her skin, an old slave code. He read the data. Unit NX27, origin, Cora 6, status, unsold. Rejected. It was cold, cruel information. But it told him one thing. She came from Cora 6, a mining colony known for child labor and poor conditions. He looked at her. "Is this where you're from?" Nara didn't speak, but her eyes dropped to the floor, and she gave a small nod. Alex sighed. "You were never just a slave, were you?" She didn't answer, but she didn't deny it. That night, a stranger came, a neighbor named Yalan, a tall man with a thick beard and harsh eyes. He knocked hard and walked in without waiting. Alex stood calmly but alert. "I heard you took in one of those things," Yalan said, frowning. "She's a child," Alex replied. "She's an alien," Yalan said coldly. "And if the patrols find out, they'll punish both of you." Alex crossed his arms. "She was dying in the snow. Not your problem." Yalan snapped. "She is now," Alex said firmly. Yalan looked around, then spotted Nara sitting near the fire. She didn't flinch this time. She just stared at him, quiet but steady. Yalan shook his head. "You'll regret this." Then he turned and left, slamming the door behind him. Alex stood in silence for a moment, then walked to Nara and knelt down. "You don't need to be afraid of men like that," he said. "This is your home now." Nara looked at him for a long time, then she whispered, "Why?" "Help me." Alex was quiet, then answered softly, "Because no one else did." The next morning, Nara followed Alex outside. She helped him carry firewood, feed the animals, and even sweep snow from the porch. She moved slowly, carefully, but she moved. Each task she finished made her eyes brighter. Each step away from fear brought her closer to trust. That evening, she sat at the table and picked up a carving knife. She began shaping a small piece of wood with shaky hands. Alex watched without interrupting. After an hour, she placed something beside his cup. It was a rough carving of a little cabin, her first gift to him. Alex looked at it, then at her. Nara looked down and said, "Thank you." For the door, he blinked, surprised, then smiled. "It'll always be open, Nara." Outside, the snow had begun to melt, just a little, but enough to know that winter wouldn't last forever. Inside, beside the fire, a forgotten alien girl was slowly becoming someone again. Not a slave, not a number, just Nara. And for Alex, that was more than enough. The snow was beginning to melt, not fast, but enough to see patches of brown earth under the white. Spring was near, and with it came small signs of life. Birds chirped again, and the wind didn't bite as hard. Inside the wooden cabin, warmth wasn't just from the fire anymore. It came from something deeper, something growing between the man and the girl who had once been left to die. Nara had started talking more, not full sentences but words clear and careful. She asked about tools, animals, stars in the sky, and even the way bread was made. Alex answered every question with patience, smiling at each new one. One morning, she followed him into the shed behind the cabin. It was dusty and full of old things, broken machines, rusted bikes, and unused parts. Alex began fixing an old swing frame he had found last year. Nara watched silently, then picked up a piece of sandpaper and started helping. Together, they worked, hour after hour. She held nails, wiped wood, and pointed at parts when he dropped them. By sunset, the swing stood tall between two trees. The ropes were strong, the seat smooth, and it creaked just a little when touched. Alex looked at her. "Want to try it?" Nara didn't answer, but her eyes stared at the swing like it was magic. He nodded toward it, gently. "It's safe." Slowly, Nara stepped forward, sat down, and held the ropes. Alex gave a soft push, and she swayed, back and forth. At first, she was stiff, unsure, but then she laughed. It was small, soft, and a little shaky. But it was a laugh. Alex froze for a moment, surprised, then smiled wide. He hadn't heard her laugh, not once, not ever. That sound meant more than words. It meant healing. For the next few days, the swing became her favorite place. Each morning, she'd run to it after chores, her feet leaving tiny prints in the softening snow. And each time she swung, her smile grew a little brighter. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Nara placed something beside Alex's dinner plate. It was a new carving, a small figure of a man holding a child's hand. He stared at it in silence. "Is this me?" he asked. Nara nodded. "You didn't throw me away," she said quietly. "I never will," Alex replied, his voice tight. But peace never lasted long on this cold planet. 2 days later, trouble returned. A black patrol ship landed near the tree line, its engines whining low. 3 armored officers stepped out, their helmets scanning, their boots pressing down old snow. They were looking for something, or someone. Alex spotted them from the window and moved fast. He told Nara to hide beneath the floorboard space he had prepared weeks ago. She didn't argue, didn't ask, she just obeyed, trusting him. When the officers knocked, Alex opened the door calmly. "Evening," he said. "We're investigating reports of illegal refugee activity," one of them said. Scanning the room, Alex shrugged. "No one here but me." They searched the cabin, checked the shed, and even walked around the swing, but they didn't find Nara still. One of them placed a small black device under the porch, a tracker beacon. "We'll return," the officer warned. "If anything appears, anything strange, we'll know." And then they left. Alex waited until their ship vanished into the sky before lifting the floor panel. Nara crawled out, eyes wide and breathing hard. "They want me," she said quietly. "They won't get you," Alex replied. "Not while I'm here." That night, he took the beacon and hiked into the woods. He threw it into the deep river nearby. watching it sink and vanish beneath the current. Let them track the water instead. When he returned, Nara was waiting at the cabin door. She looked at him, her face pale but strong. "I should go," she whispered. "I don't want you hurt." Alex stepped forward and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You didn't knock on my door that night," he said. "You didn't ask to be saved, but I opened it anyway. You're not just a guest now, Nara," he said softly. "Your family." Her lips trembled, and tears filled her eyes. She had cried before, in nightmares, in pain. But these tears were different, warm, silent, full of feeling. She hugged him, and this time she didn't pull away. Outside, the swing moved in the wind, a quiet reminder of small joys, of things built together. Inside, the fire burned strong, and the girl who had once been nothing was now everything. The river had taken the tracker. But Alex knew that wouldn't stop them for long. Patrols were like hounds. Once they smelled something, they kept hunting until the scent was gone. Still, the cabin remained quiet for a few days. No soldiers, no ships, just silence. Nara helped more around the house now. She swept the floor, washed dishes, and even helped Alex fix the fence outside. Her hands, once weak and trembling, had grown steady and strong. One morning, Alex found her carving again. She was sitting on the porch with a small piece of wood in her lap. When he looked closer, he saw she was shaping a bird like the one he had given her weeks ago, but this one had wings open wide, as if flying. "You're getting good at that," Alex said. Nara smiled. "You taught me." She now spoke softly but clearly. Her words came with care, but they were hers, free, not forced. That afternoon, they went into the forest together. Alex wanted to teach her how to track deer, how to know which plants were safe. Nara followed closely, asking questions, pointing at every sound and shape. Her eyes were full of wonder, like she was seeing the world for the first time. They stopped near a small hill where the snow had melted completely. Wildflowers had begun to bloom there. Nara knelt beside one, touched the petals gently, and whispered, "Pretty." Alex nodded. Spring always finds a way. But that peace broke the next day, just before sunset. Alex saw something in the sky. A patrol drone, small and fast, flew low above the trees, then vanished behind the hills. He knew what that meant. The river trick hadn't worked. They were watching again. That night, Alex didn't sleep. He stayed up near the fire, staring into the flames. Nara sat beside him, hugging her knees. "They'll come again," she said quietly. "I know," Alex replied. "I don't want them to hurt you," she whispered. "They won't," he answered. "Because I won't let them." There was silence for a while. Then Nara looked up, her voice shaking. I know why they left me at the market." Alex turned to her, listening. "They said I was broken," she continued. "I didn't speak, didn't obey. I was slow." She looked away. "I remember them saying I wasn't worth the price." Alex's jaw tightened. "That's not true," he said firmly. "You're not broken, Nara. They didn't even look at me when they threw me outside," she whispered. "Just left me in the cold." Alex leaned forward and took her hand. "They don't decide your worth," he said. "You do." The next day, Alex began making plans. He knew the patrol would return soon, maybe in force. So he built a second hiding place, a deeper one. Under the woodshed, he stocked it with food, blankets, and water. Nara helped without asking. She knew what this meant. "Will you run with me?" she asked. Alex shook his head. "No, I'll stay. If they catch you, I'll lie. I'll fight. I'll do whatever it takes," he said. "But you'll be safe." That night, Nara left a gift on his pillow. It was a carving of two birds flying side by side. One big, one small, both with wings stretched wide. But morning brought the sound they feared. Engines, loud and close. Alex ran to the window. 2 patrol ships were landing in the clearing. 6 armed officers stepped out, their black suits shining. Under the pale sun, he turned to Nara. "Go now." She hesitated. Please," he said. "Go now." Nara ran, quiet and fast, disappearing into the woodshed. Alex closed the trapdoor and kicked snow over it. Then he opened the cabin door just as the first soldier reached it. "What do you want?" Alex asked calmly. "We tracked a signal here," the officer said. "You found nothing last time." Alex replied, "We weren't finished last time," the man said coldly. "We'll search again." They stormed inside, breaking things, opening drawers, knocking over furniture. One of them picked up a carving from the table, the flying bird, and sneered, "You make toys now?" Alex didn't answer. They checked the floor, the closets, the fireplace. But they didn't check the shed, not this time. After an hour, the officer growled, "Fine, but if we find out you're hiding something." "You won't," Alex said, and shut the door behind them. Only when the sound of engines faded into the distance did he go to the shed. He opened the trapdoor and reached down. Nara crawled out, pale and shaking. "But alive, I was afraid," she whispered. "I was too," Alex said, pulling her close. "But we're still here, outside." The sky began to clear, and in the distance, birds flew, 2 of them, side by side. After the soldiers left, the cabin felt quiet again, but it was not the same kind of quiet as before. Now it was a silence filled with relief and something deeper. Trust. Nara sat beside Alex, wrapped in her thick coat. Her eyes stared out the window where the patrol ship had disappeared. "Will they come back again?" she asked. Alex nodded. "Maybe, but we'll be ready." He handed her a piece of bread and a hot drink. She took it with both hands, her fingers still trembling a little. "I didn't move," she said softly. "Even when they yelled, you were very brave." Alex said. She looked down, then whispered, "Because you told me to." That night, she didn't sleep in the corner like she used to. She curled up in a blanket near the fire, right beside Alex's chair. She stayed close not because she was scared, but because she felt safe. Spring arrived fully the next week. Snow melted, streams flowed, and wildflowers bloomed across the fields. Alex took Nara hiking through the nearby hills. They saw deer, birds, and strange glowing mushrooms hidden under old logs. Nara laughed more now. She spoke more, asked more, even sang softly when she thought no one could hear. One morning, while they were walking along a narrow path, they heard something, a soft cry, not animal, not wind. Alex stopped, eyes narrowing. He followed the sound through thick bushes and found a small figure, curled up behind a fallen tree. A child, an alien boy, no older than 7. Thin, dirty, and shaking with cold. His clothes were torn, and he looked half-starved. Nara gasped. "He's like I was." Alex knelt beside the boy and spoke gently. "It's okay, we won't hurt you." The boy opened his eyes, black and wide. He tried to crawl away but had no strength left. Nara moved beside Alex, pulled out her bread from her coat, and held it out. "Eat," she said softly. The boy took it with shaking hands and devoured it. Then his eyes filled with tears, and he leaned into Nara's side. He didn't speak, just held on, like she once did. Alex carried him home. They gave him food and a warm place by the fire. The boy still didn't speak, but his breathing slowed. He slept for hours, safe at last. That night, Nara sat with Alex at the table. Her hands were folded, her face serious. "Can he stay?" she asked. Alex looked at the sleeping boy, then nodded. "If he wants to," she smiled gently. "I want to help him," she said, "the way you helped me." The next day, Nara gave the boy a name, Lumo. She said it meant light in her old language. He didn't argue. He just nodded and followed her everywhere. Alex watched them together, how she showed him how to carve wood, how to warm his hands by the fire, how to sleep without fear. She had become more than someone who was saved. She had become someone who saved. Later that week, while Alex repaired the old water pump, he saw Nara helping Lumo build a toy from wood scraps. She held his hand, guiding him slowly, and when the toy was finished, Lumo smiled, a real, wide, happy smile. Alex felt something deep in his chest, pride, not just in her, but in everything they had become. That evening, Alex built a second bed, small but strong. He placed it beside Nara's and told Lumo it was his. The boy jumped onto it like it was the best thing in the universe. Later, Nara handed Alex a carving. This one had 3 figures, one big, 2 small, all sitting under a tree. Family? Alex asked. She nodded. Yes, but far away, in the city outposts. Someone else had noticed something too. A patrol officer reviewed a new report. A hidden sensor placed near the hills had picked up movement, strange footprints, and heat signatures. Not just one anymore. 2, and this time, they didn't plan to knock back at the cabin. The stars glowed above. Inside, Lumo slept peacefully. Nara sat beside Alex on the porch, looking at the sky. "Do you miss your real family?" she asked. Alex looked up, then answered softly, "I lost them long ago, I think." "We're like a new one now," she said. He nodded. "Yes, we are." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in her life, she felt whole, no longer a discarded slave, no longer broken, but a sister, a helper, a protector, and somewhere, deep in the woods, another shadow was coming. But this time they were ready, together. The next morning began like any other. Sunlight touched the trees, birds sang softly, and the cabin smelled of bread and warm tea. Lumo was already awake, building a tower from sticks and stones near the porch. Nara helped him, laughing whenever it fell over. Alex smiled from the doorway. This was peace. This was family. But peace is a fragile thing, and by midday, it broke. A loud sound filled the air, deep, sharp, and close. A patrol ship, larger than before, flew low over the trees and landed just beyond the hill. Its doors opened, and soldiers stepped out, heavily armed and moving fast. Alex didn't speak, he just moved. He ran to the children, grabbed them both, and led them to the shed. "Go to the hiding place," he said firmly. "Now." Nara nodded, grabbed Lumo's hand, and pulled him toward the trapdoor. Before going in, she looked at Alex, her voice shaking. "You'll come too, right?" Alex knelt down and touched her shoulder. "I need to talk to them first. Slow them down," he said. "But I'll protect you, always." Nara didn't want to leave, but she obeyed. The trapdoor closed, and silence returned. Alex stood alone. As the soldiers reached the cabin, their leader, a tall man with silver armor and a scar across his face, stepped forward. "We know they're here," he said coldly. "You're protecting escaped property." Alex stood tall, calm but firm. "They're not property," he said. "They're children." The officer raised his hand, and 2 soldiers rushed toward the cabin. They kicked open doors, smashed shelves, and turned over furniture, but they still didn't find Nara or Lumo. The leader stepped closer to Alex. "You're lying, and..." "Lies cost lives," he growled. "You have one chance, give them up." Alex looked him straight in the eye. "Go back to your ship," he said. "They don't belong to you anymore." The officer's fist struck him hard. Alex fell to the ground, blood on his lip, but he didn't break. He got back up slowly. "I won't let you take them," he said again. "They have a home now." The soldiers raised their weapons, but before they could act, something unexpected happened. The ground near the shed burst open, and Nara jumped out. Lumo followed. Holding her hand tightly, Alex turned, shocked. "Nara, no." But she stepped forward, her voice strong. "Stop," she said. "You're not taking us." The soldiers paused as surprised to hear her speak. The officer frowned. "You think you can stop us, little thing?" Nara lifted a piece of wood in her hand, her carving of 2 birds. "We're not alone," she said. "We're family now." Lumo stepped beside her, holding a stick like a sword. He didn't say anything, but he didn't back down. Alex stood up again, limping slightly, and now the soldiers saw something strange. Not weakness, but something stronger than fear, something they didn't understand. The officer raised his hand again, ready to give the final command, but a voice came from behind them. "Stand down." Another patrol ship had arrived silently, but this one was different. A woman stepped out, wearing a dark blue uniform with golden stripes. Her face was older, wiser, and her eyes calm but sharp. "I am Commander Elia," she sighed. "I've received the full report." The officer saluted. "Mom, we found them." "I've seen enough," she interrupted. She looked at Alex, then at Nara and Lumo. These children were abandoned, discarded, left to die. "They were rescued," she added. "Not stolen," the officer stammered. "But the law also says children must not be harmed." Elia said sharply, "Are you prepared to shoot a girl who built toys from wood and found her voice again?" Silence fell. Elia walked to Nara and knelt down. "You spoke with courage," she said softly. Nara looked up, unsure. "Will you take us away?" she asked. Elia smiled gently. "No," she said. "You've already found where you belong." She turned to her soldiers. "This case is closed," she said. Back to the ship. One by one, they returned to their vessel. The engines roared, then faded into the sky. Alex dropped to his knees, tired but relieved. Nara and Lumo rushed to him. He hugged them both tightly. "You did it," he whispered. "No," Nara said with a smile. "We did it." That night, the cabin was quiet again, but this time it was full of life, full of warmth, full of love. Alex sat by the fire. Nara carved a new figure, 3 people, standing under stars. And Lumo carefully painted it with colors from crushed berries and leaves. Outside, the swing swayed gently in the wind, a sign that childhood had returned. That no one would be thrown away again, not on this land, not while that door stayed open.